Well, good morning. My name is John, or excuse me, good afternoon. It is crept into the noon time. My name is John Kenyon. I'm the Executive Director of the Iowa City UNESCO City of Literature organization, and I'd like to welcome you to this year's Poetry and Public Reading as part of the Iowa City Book Festival. So we have been festing all week. We started last Sunday, and we've had 30-some-odd events over the course of the last week, and just a handful more today. There are programs by the door, so if you didn't grab one on your way in, feel free to grab one on your way out, and hopefully you can join us for some of the other things that are happening yet today. I'd like to thank the sponsors and partners who have made the festival possible: the City of Iowa City, the University of Iowa, the Iowa City Public Library, the Coralville Public Library, Prairie Lights Bookstore, Iowa Public Radio, Think Iowa City, Greater Iowa City, Inc., and the West Bank Corporation Foundation. Support also is provided by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Iowa Arts Council, which exists within the Iowa Economic Development Authority. And I would encourage you, among those things that are happening the rest of the day, to visit the local author book fair, which is happening at Merge, which is just right out up and around the corner, where you can meet some local and Iowa authors, see their work, and chat with them about the things they're doing. And I would also mention that Iowa City Book Festival events are free and open to the public, but they do not come without cost for our organization. And if you have appreciated what you have been able to experience this week and you would like to support that and make sure that we can continue to do that into the future, I would ask that you consider supporting our organization. You can visit iowacityofliterature.org and click on the button that says support, and that will give you some options for being able to do that. So today we're going to start the program by hearing from Daniel Umemezie. And I butchered that, didn't I, Daniel? I was so close. Umemezie. Zie. Okay. I'm going to get it by the end of your year. Daniel is here as the 25-26 Iowa Student Poet Ambassador. And he was inaugurated in April, so he's going to have that role for the next year. So I'm going to get it figured out by then, Daniel. Daniel is a student at Cedar Falls High School, and he has earned multiple awards through the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards for his inventive and rhythmically vibrant poetry. Selected from a talented statewide pool, he aims to make poetry feel less like homework and more like a heartbeat. And I can attest, having read a lot of his work, that he does that very well. Daniel was officially inaugurated, as I said, as the 5th Iowa Student Poet Ambassador in April, and we are thrilled to celebrate his remarkable achievements and contributions to Iowa's literary community. I will say that Iowa City of Literature is one of a handful of organizations across the state that helps to facilitate the Iowa Student Poet Ambassador program. Actually, Jan Warren, who's hiding in the back there, is the chief administrator of this entire program and helps a lot with that. But we evaluate student writing from across the state and select a writer each year who goes out and does a lot of things across the state to promote writing and poetry. Daniel's going to talk a little bit more about what he's been doing this year and also share some of his work to get us started today. So please help me welcome Daniel.
Wow, it's great to be here. This is probably be like my first like talk or like poetry reading like outside of like the regular stuff I do, online workshops and all that. Do I have to get closer to the?
No, you're good.
Okay.
But people can see who you are.
I see. Yeah, that works. Yes, that is me indeed. Yeah. And so it's been great. It's been great to be the student poet ambassador for Iowa this season. I've gotten to work with a lot of fun people. Jan in the back there. She's really helped everything that I've done. Quite recently, well, I guess over the summer, I was at the All Iowa Reads program. That was really fun. I got to talk with a lot of authors, and it was honestly great. It was a really great experience. It was really fun. And, I mean, just moving forward with things I've done, I would say I think the biggest thing I'm really working on right now, I'm working towards really hard, is the Youth Poetry Council, getting that set up for Iowa. And that's something I'm really passionate about, as I see oftentimes youth are not sure how to use their voice or don't even know how to use their voice. And I can see poetry being one of the ways that youth can really grow into the voices that they have and learn how to use that as a tool for change. Um, and with that said, I'll probably come back to give a bit of kind of discourse on why I kind of set it up. But I would like to read a poem that's really dear to me. This I wrote, well, a couple of these I wrote in like the transitional period coming from Nigeria. I'm Nigerian American, and moving from that experience, Nigeria to America, like that whole transition, it's been 4 years, going 4 years, and that transitional time was really like a point where I really got back into writing poetry after like it's maybe a 2-year hiatus from it, and that was really great to get that flowing again, because it was really hard. Moving away from friends, from family, that was something I had to deal with and like come to terms with that. Hey, this is the new life. And this was one of the works that came from that experience. It is titled, This Organ Have Grown. I begin with where all failures begin, with the body. Before method, before madness, stillness. Breath held so long it became a prayer, not meant for answering, but offered to the very curse it was meant to break. Silence is a skin, an organ. Weeping, bleeding, bearing what was never said, this organ has its own circulation. Pumping in spoken words through veins of grief and ash, metabolizing fear into her terrible wisdom. We mistake silence for peace. They share a posture, not a nature. Silence is a rehearsal of disappearance, and I have watched my people inherit it. Like brittle heirlooms, too large to carry, too small to hold. Unspeakable truths, lost between one silence and the next. Like lilies we pretended never bloomed. There's cruelty in this quietness we do not name. We frame our quiet desperations in museum glass, call them dignity, so they gnaw beneath the silence we mistake for survival. And still I do not hate it. What if this silence of groans around the edges of my voice protects something I don't yet know to use? What if silence is not absence, but an actor in this drama? Presence with intention, like smoke in the closed room. I confess I do not understand its purpose. Some days it protects me, others it feels like inherited debt. I remember biting my tongue till it bled, not from fear, but from believing that speech would cost more than silence ever did. The metallic taste of restraint I would call to the stillness that swallowed me. Maybe I was wrong, maybe not, but this I offer. If silence has teeth, maybe it has a tongue. Maybe it has been speaking all along, not as nothing but something. Maybe the conversation between the voice and voicelessness, between two forms of speech, one we speak, one we survive. Maybe silence isn't waiting for us to speak, but to finally listen to what has already been said. I hear it now. Not emptiness, but fullness so complete, it needs no words. I place my hands against my throat, the blood moving through it, warm, thick, and mine. Thank you. That was really hard to write. When I started that piece, it was, I would call it like a culmination of a truth that I've learned to understand, even moving to America and the situation of Black Americans and African Americans in the United States, I guess you might say. And it's something that's really called to me, even as I've seen other Blacks influenced by my writing. It's really something that's been a huge burden to carry, as well as really fulfilling. It's been awesome. This next piece I will be reading is called Semblance of a Black Boy. And once again, very hard to write. It was I would call it the most personal poem I've ever written, just because it talks a lot about my identity as a Black man, my struggles, come to terms with what I believe identity to be. I feel like the thesis of the poem is identity isn't something you have. It isn't something you are born with. It's torn from pieces of those around you. It's torn from the community around you, and those around you that enable you to become who you are. Often said, it takes a community to raise a child, and that is true in every sense of the word, because coming from where I come from, the community, the differences between there and here, I mean, it's really put in perspective what that statement really means. This semblance of a black boy. On this altar, it's frayed quilt, tinted lash, salt wet, I am made black. My black eyes are awash with swatches of gray, sleep-crusted at the corners of my eyes, rough quartz threads fraying this weave of black. Awake to what I cannot etch into this weave of black, I am broken to patches of dirt, washed from the zinc roof. Flowering red, freckled, each drop a small hammer of sound bruising my black ears. These pellets washing this likeness of a black boy, these scarred seams void of color, thin to a ragged patch of flint. I am black, am I not? And if I am I not offered to this blackness through a salvation called community? Am I not a dreamer woven from things inked and weathered, shredded and torn, their brokenness unearthed and stitched into this weave of black? Am I not a patchwork of reflections, scuffed and fringed, rolled and twisted, held, wet and formless to fashion some likeness of a black boy? But it is no more the altar. Its demands only a reflection, bolted in gray to a resemblance of a black boy washed, threadbare phrase worn to flint, poking through the roots beneath my glossy skin. This woven blackness, violent against the hands that made it, tattered and grieved. Thank you. That was semblance. I think being a bit sentimental towards this piece, I guess I would say I would really call it probably the culmination of my understanding as I am now. I'll probably come to revise it or rewrite it eventually. But as I am now, this is my understanding of what identity is and what it means to me. It's the community we have around us. It's the little pieces of home that we carry. It's the little pieces of people themselves that we carry in us. And that's what brought about that piece. This next piece is a very traditional one. I would say traditional in the sense, I mean traditional to me, it's a Nigerian piece. It's titled Kitchen Owambe. And Owambe in Yoruba means party. Oftentimes in Nigeria, there's huge, huge parties. In fact, sometimes the parties are so huge that actually the amount of people on the party list we're supposed to invite, it exceeds that by far, because people hear the noise outside and just stroll in, eat, and leave, and it's awesome time. And it's called Kitchen Owambe. So there's a lot of food going around, and they always food is always in excess. There's never less, but it's often a great time. But this is called Kitchen Owambe. Loud-legged lifers, living giggle-filled graces, joys inherited. Happiness helpless, passed like red, yellow palm oil hands across cool tiled floors, time ticking, steam smoldering, pots pondering, rattled rumblings, and even far away they smell us living, stared by hands that hold history, fingers floor fat, lifetimes floored from rolling and reaching, nona noodling, nodding, less now, with wobbling wrists staring still. I hear her stomach grumble on a cold night, a baby's asleep, a sweat drift like soft palms down the curve of her left breast. Now her babies have babies. She hums softly, proud, a Nigerian nonna. She says, come, eat. Mouthing salty secrets while meatballs brown beneath bubbling with basil and bay and memories of a Owambe madness. Counters cluttered, colanders catching clumps of clinking osikapa. Peelings curled like commas, sleeping on the oil-slicked cutting boards. Floor fogs the floor. Ghost prints of feet too fast to follow. Knife knocks, cabinet creaks, oven sighs. Windows fogged, walls sweating, stove heat and shouting. Sun slits through the blinds. Shrimping arms glinting on grease-slicked spoons. Bodies bend, Shoulders slide, hips half turned, a ritual dance only the kitchen knows. Brows bead, backs glisten. Beneath the rising, we're rolling boils. The hallways hum, the bathrooms bang, doors creak, feet flounder and children chase. Cheeks sticky, one falls, cries, laughs, then runs again with fists full of fufu and egusi. Auntie shouts over uncle's laughter's voice layered, like linens and chairs pulled from every corner of the house. Everywhere bits of jollof littered, too much food, not enough chairs. And every argument known to man, a hand handing heavies, voice vehement, vivid, a door slams, someone sinks notch soft and sour near the sink, all at once, centuries of Ibadan, crashing into a single kitchen. Uninvited like Mr. Uchechi, who smelled the life from across Balogun Drive. Bodies boiling like the salty sauce, love, loud, language longing. Outside Nana sits, socks sagging around her soft ankles. She always said God knew her name. Later, fold a red, yellow striped blanket over her knees. She sleeps in her chair smiling. And the next day, her absence feeds us too. I would say I don't know much about my grandmom, well, from my dad's side, but I do know a lot about her because my dad knows a lot about her. He has a lot of quotes and things she said that have stuck with me. So, and I met her during her last days, so to speak, because I didn't really know her like he knew her. He knew her as the mom, the ever-present, protective mom. I knew her in chairs and talking softly and all of that. And so this is my attempt to capture what might have been from his memories of her. And so this is Kitchen Owambe. Give you a couple of details. Osikapa means rice, and rice is a staple food in Nigeria. It's like everywhere. Fried rice, jollof rice, a specialty. Ours is better than Ghana's. It's always a conversation. There's a lot in there. Did I say? I think that was pretty much it. Those were pretty much the only references I used. There might have been more, but there might have been more probably. But if I remember those, I'll come back to them. Yeah. I do not consider myself a philosopher, but oftentimes I dabble in philosophical undertakings, as you might say. And this piece came from one of those. I wrote this 3 a.m. I don't know. This was like in the summer. I was awake, 3 a.m. I was like, sure, why not, right? You know, those kind of like thoughts you have 3 a.m. in the morning, and you're like, oh, what? This is a pondering on silence and words. It's I guess in technical terms, this name of this poem, or like the genre of Ars Poetica, which is just the art of poetry, or trying to understand the essence of poetry. But I do not consider it that. I consider it to be more of my take on words, not even Ars Poetica, just what words are in their like most basic sense. But it is called forma negata, and it's a Latin term. Quite translated literally, it means negative form, or form negative, or negativa in the Spanish way, I guess you might call it that. And oftentimes I find that English often has a problem with other languages because you find that there's a lot more meaning baked into the original like spelling of things than it's translated in English. So an example of this would be in Nigeria, you might say, we want to say the burial cloth, or dead of, which I'll talk about this in the poem later, but it's called the burial cloth. You would say akwangu, quite translated, like literally that means cloth of death, but there's a lot more that goes into that. It could be cloth of covering, it could be, you know, it could have other meanings. Very like, similarly, forma negata means a whole lot more than just negative form. It could mean the refusal of form. It could mean the form it refuses to take. It could mean the absence of form. It could mean the form of nothing. It could mean the nothing of form. And so that Latin word, there's a lot of meanings baked into that. And oftentimes I find that words themselves are horrible, horrible containers of emotion. Saying that as a poet is kind of crazy, actually, but I find that words oftentimes do not express the emotion as they are. They're just reaching towards expressing that emotion that they want. And that's the essence of this poem. It's called Forma Negata. Mother's silver eyes. No, that's not right. Her eyes at the end, how they, I want to say reflected, but that makes them mirrors. Makes them about something other than what they were, open, and not seeing or seeing past where I could follow. Expression without emotion is dead, I wrote once. Thinking I understood, but when I tried to hold her hand, my hand went through the rail beneath, or my hand held bone wrapped in cooling skin, or there was no hand, mine or hers, only the fact of hands being a thing we agreed upon. The syntax breaks here. What I mean is, you were there, mother, and the room was more than you were. Air filled the space your breathing left. I counted 1, 2, 3, not her breaths, my own, which continued inexplicably. The form the poem wants. Mother died, silver eyes, darkness, stars. The form it gets. Me sitting, counting my breath, wondering when to call the nurse. No, that's still trying to say it. Let me, her wrist, the delicate bones I could see beneath the skin that had become transparent, nearly. Emotion without expression dies. I am trying to write my way to the moment when I understood the grief is not in the heart, but in the hand reaching, finding cloth instead of warmth, metaphor instead of mother. Each word I place, no, each word, watching my hand write each word, and the word becoming a sound I've said too many times. Word until it empties, that is what I am after. The emptying, not the grand statement about language, but the small erosion. How mother starts meaning less the more I write it. How her name, which I wouldn't give you, has become a shape my mouth makes without her in it. You want the poem to arrive somewhere, I did too, but mother died. And then my hands and my mouths made signs and sounds to tell the nurse that I drove home counting street lights, 1, 2, 3, and when I tried to write it, my hand moved and the pen moved, and words appeared and none of them were her. The former refuses, revelation, closure, the satisfying click of meaning, locking into place what it offers, this gesture, this reaching, my hand still moving across the page towards something that isn't there, has never been there, mother, the space between letters where you. Thank you. Yeah, words and emotions. I found myself in this whole loop of trying to understand the essence of words and emotions from the North Carolina poet laureate. I had a workshop with her, and it was just amazing getting to talk with her and get her views and things. And that was really kind of what sparked my interest in understanding the essence of words and emotions and all the things that they could mean and embody, and that's what brought about that poem. This next poem is an interesting one. It's about my brother. He is in Virginia right now. He graduated from Fort Jackson basic training. He's in the National Guard. And it is, I would say, my experience without him so far and what it has been, because I've been with him forever. I mean, man, we're like this. I've never been without him. These days, I lay on the bed, I'm like, bro, like the other side of the bed is always cold, and I'm like, what are we doing? And so it's like, you know, just the experiences I've had without him, and like the summer, with like spending the summer without him was something that was not fun at all, and that was what about this piece. I wrote it after attending his graduation, actually. His graduation sometime, I don't know, like a month ago maybe, and he graduated from Fort Jackson. I think I've said that, but it's called Fort Jackson, if you think. Fort Jackson, to my brother. To the birthplace of my dear brother, with your red soil that stained his first uniform, with the trumpets at 0500, their brightness a kind of violence, with your sun that made him stop noticing the sun. With your sky so wide, he learned to keep his eyes down. With your mess halls, powdered eggs that he tastes, and he can't remember but won't eat eggs anymore. With your drill sergeants who screamed until their voices grew gentle. With your boots, he shined until he could see his face disappearing. With your formations, where he learned the right way to become no one. With your cadences still counting in his mouth. At the pharmacy, the post office, his lips moving to a number no one else can hear. With your separation from home and the way you made home the thing he needed separation from. With your 6 hours of no sleep and the nothing he says it felt like. With your breaking down, your pliers and your systematic and screwing, your this goes here and this we wouldn't need anymore, your hands on his hands until they were not quite his. With your rifle that has a name when his mother no longer does, I offer you my gratitude for what I don't know. I offer you my brother who I already gave you, who was never mine to offer, who left wearing his own face and came back so careful with it, like something that might break if it moves it wrong, who speaks now in your grammar, alpha, bravo, rifle, sir, a language where he's always the thing being acted upon, never the I, and I am spending years trying to learn it. My mouth's full of words that wouldn't attach to anything. I offer you this, my gratitude. I met his friends. They were really cool. I mean, cool people. But he is now their brother as much as he is mine. And that is something I have to live with and kind of learn to cope with. But great people, by the way. Fun people. I have 2 more poems that I will read. And this is also kind of the same idea, but it's less about the people he met there and more of me saying goodbye. It's called The Valediction of Small Things. There's a bit of backstory, but I'll come back to it after I read the poem. A valediction of small things. Goodbye to 2 toothbrushes propped, hairline cracked. Goodbye to the mirror, overexposed, the light leak I kept stepping in. Goodbye to a mangled tube pressed from the middle, runty and creased. Goodbye to the silence of my ragged heartbeat, taut. Goodbye to the sink, lime filling the lip where your water ran. Goodbye to the mirror's blown highlight. Goodbye to the bobby pins 3. Goodbye to the lamp, their filament cut, glinting. Goodbye to your robe still dampening the air. Goodbye to that ragged cushion. Goodbye to the jammed thumbprint, sugar to the newsprint, to the ink rubbed into the frayed couch. Goodbye to the penciled question marks, worn to dots. Goodbye to the margins. Goodbye to the cracked car window in December, to frost-filmed glass. Goodbye to the 1846 quilt and its brandied, oily squares. Goodbye to winter's rain dulling the rooms gray. Goodbye to the yogurt cups on the sill, your drying skim. Goodbye to the foil creased with greased stars. Goodbye to the socks by the radiator stiffening. Goodbye to the hairline fault. Goodbye to your coffee mug, brown ringing slow, dancing round the rim. Goodbye, I let you go. Yeah, the backstory of that was, growing up, we did everything together, like everything. And so we had like so many objects hold so many memories for us. Even like the most random, like toothbrushes. We had this time where we like shave them down and like use them to try to make like a longer stick and like, it was awesome time. It was a great time. And so that was kind of saying goodbye to the him I knew and the him I'll get to meet when he gets back from the second phase of training. And just like to the him I'll keep knowing as we kind of grow old together. That was it. The last piece, I'm kind of undecided right now between what I should read last. But I would go flame to flame. My mom's a nurse, and she's been a nurse for like, I don't know, as long as I've known her. My dad probably knew her when she wasn't a nurse, but as long as I've known her, she's been a nurse. And this is, I've been to the hospital maybe once or twice. I mean, like actual, like staying there and like spending time there, maybe twice at the most. And it's just like the bits and pieces of it that I can remember were like both sad and not, because I mean, you see all these nurses running around where there's like the code blue or code red or something like that, and then you hear like the noises of people shouting and the ER and like all that going on, and you're just like sitting in that whole mess of chaos, and it's like, oh my God, these people are trying to save lives, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they do, and it's just living with that ambiguity of like, this is what they do, this is what they have to live with, and just coming to terms with that brought about this piece, and it is called Flame to Flame. The glass walls sweat in the 3 a.m. air, condensation from 47 lungs, keeping staggered time. Handprints fog and fade, a grandson's palms pressed flat against the glass, daughter's restless fingers tracing letters. The letters the mothers can't read. Beyond the blurred pane, I see the valley's scattered lights, porch bulbs left burning for sons who wouldn't come home, kitchen windows where insomniacs make tea they wouldn't drink. Each glow flickers like the pulse monitor at bed 12, where Mrs. Chen stays still. The hospice air tastes of industrial disinfectant and birthday cake wax. A Yankee candle smugged in by someone's great niece, melting now on the windowsill into a pink puddle. The night nurse drifts between rooms, soft shoes whispering, key card Glington. She checks the oxygen flow at bed 3. Here, vinyl chairs pulled close with adjustable mattresses hardened into prayer stools. Daughter in room 11 hasn't moved in 12 hours, her thumb polishing the corner of a photograph worn soft as cloth. Her mind refusing to understand the bed is empty. At the nurse's station, someone has lined up 17 votive candles in mismatched glass, jelly jars, chip mugs, a child's ceramic turtle, and they burn unevenly. The night supervisor doesn't mention the fire code. Kindling. Room 7 smells like her mother's Chanel No. 5. The daughter misted the pillow before morphine gentled her mother's voice. She wrestled a box of matches, her hand trembling from vigil. The first match snaps, the second fizzles, the third flares too bright. She watches it die on the wax doll floor between her feet and the bird rail. Her mother's breath rides a wire. 20 seconds in, 30 out. Then a pause long enough for 4 heartbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Match 4 blooms. She lowers it to the wick of the white pillar candle, the one from a mother's kitchen table, smuggled in, wrapped in a nightgown. The flame bows, wavers, then steadies. The wax softens the silk. She tips the candle towards the bed, only close enough for the amber to kiss her mother's closed eyelids. The flame dances once in the glass water pitcher, again along the chrome bed rail, then twice in the diamond of the daughter's wedding ring. She threads her free hand into her mother's hair, combing through the silver strands. Her mother's next breath slips from her lips. The grandson presses his forehead against the fogging glass, watching the flame dance through the doorway. Extinguishing. 4:17 a.m. The monitor stops its greenlit chanting. The room holds its breath beneath the buzz of dimming fluorescent lights. The air cools by a single, almost imagined degree. The daughter doesn't blow out the candle. Her hands remain cupped around the base, savoring its fading warmth through the glass. The wick has eaten halfway, floating in a lucent pool of wax, welcoming the dimming lights like a shallow pond at dusk. The night nurse enters without knocking, her rubber-soled shoes silent on the waxed floor. She checks the monitor, scribbles on the chart, then places her hand briefly on the daughter's shoulder. Fingers are warm from washing them in the sink down the hall. "Would you like me to?" she begins. But the daughter shakes her head without looking up from the flame. For an hour, the candle dwindles, nibbling itself to a stub, while wax trickles like icing. In a blink, she's back home. 1984, the kitchen, her mother cutting stars from sugar dough, while soft white drifts veil the white wedding ring's diamond. 5:23 a.m., the candle gutters. It sputters, smaller, then flares once, a tender gasp, then dark. She waits through 10 silent heartbeats until the wick's red eye closes, her eyes adjusting to the pre-dawn light seeping through the windows. Elimination. Grandson moves from lobby to room 9, where Mr. Peterson's son sits vigil with a battery-powered lantern. No matches allowed near the oxygen tank. But the boy shows him how to light the tea light he's been carrying in his pocket for 3 days, using the still warm lighter his grandmother gave him, rather. Down the hall, Mrs. Rodriguez has been awake since the monitor went quiet. A daughter-in-law brings her a glass votive from the gift shop. A Coke sits together using the flame from the 7-day candle, burning for St. Jude on the window ledge. A thin ribbon of candle smoke wanders into room 12, where no one keeps watch but the machine at the bedside. At the nurse's station, the night supervisor adds an 18th candle to the makeshift shrine. This one is in the mason jar, half melted, wick blackened but willing. She waits for the daughter from room 7. The daughter walks slowly, lighter in hand. She pauses, then leans forward and wakes the 18th candle. The new flame catches easily. The air conditioning clicks on, and all 18 flames lean east, then straighten. None go out. A new family arrives in the parking lot, headlights sweeping across the glass walls. The night settles again. Thank you. I tried not to romanticize the feeling of dread of the daughter at that moment. The daughter is actually a real person that I vaguely remember, fictional but inspired by a real person. And the little bits I remember, her crying, just crying. She was sitting by me, crying. And it's like that dread she felt at that moment, her mom in the hospital, not knowing what was going to happen, had to trust the doctors. But at the end of the day, it was her time to go, and just understanding that most times in life, my dad always says life moves in cycles. There's always a death. It's death and life, but it's even deeper than that. And it's all the people connected to you as well that even connected that cycle as a whole. And just understanding that brought about this poem. And I compare life to a flame because, I mean, in my head, there's like, from the infant stage, it's like a little tiny light, but then it grows and it grows and it grows, and then it comes back to that little tiny light even at the end, and it's like that experience of blazing and then coming back. It reminds me a lot of the poem "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night." I don't know if you guys read that, and just understanding that it really brought about this piece, and so that was Flame to Flame. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Daniel. All right. So I'm glad you could join us today for the celebration of poetry in public. The program showcases the incredible literary talent in our community by displaying poems written by local writers of all ages in public spaces throughout the area. And so I'll call you up, like I said, alphabetically by your last name. Let's see. Kylie, are you here? Come on up. And then after the reader is done reading, pause for a minute for pictures.
My poem is called Little Skittle. Tiny little Skittle isn't better. Little Skittle sits in the bag with his brother, and they talk for what seems forever. Little Skittle talks about his fears, about how he's scared of bees and bears, but little does he know, into my mouth he goes. Thank you.
Philip, are you here? Come on up.
A real day. I woke, reluctant to leave a dream in which the clocks first ran backwards, then not at all. What did it mean? Time is a myth, I decided. Looking backward and forward are the same. endless. Love both your life and your death. Lean unreluctantly into it all. I tossed a coin in the air. It never landed. Thank you.
Thanks, Philip. Dan?
It's sort of hard to follow these excellent poets. I'll do my best. And thank you to John and thank you to Rachel for making this possible. As you may know, a century ago in Hickory Hill Park, there was a so-called pest house. That is, a house for patients who had contagious diseases. The house was built in 1915 and in use into the 1920s, but with the progress of medicine, was no longer needed and was taken down many years ago. However, walking by that site in the park, you can still see a trace of where the house stood. And I've often walked by there, and this is what I wrote about it, Evening Woods. The slight depression where the pest house stood, collecting leaves each fall, goes green in spring. Trust hickory limbs and wild geraniums. Trust deer and goldfinches. Their neighborhood preceded ours and keeps on flourishing, each reconciling debts with hoarded sums and bracing for the drifts when winter comes.
Is Melanie here? All right, come on up.
Hi, I'm Melanie Hester. I'm an educator going on my 11th year of teaching, and this was inspired by one of my students and kind of some that I've had over the course of the 10 years. It's called A Legacy of Struggle. I see him a few times a week. I know that he is trapped, a beautiful black boy with a target on his back. Pages of his story stolen away, a systemic invasion. Childhood is passing him by, a young soul so broken. I see the pain that's in his eyes. His voice, he keeps it sealed. He acts tough with that poker face, his true self never revealed. I tell him his right to remain silent ain't required here. And so it was really hard to narrow this original song down to 7 lines, but it is from a bigger song that I wrote for him based on his ideas and thoughts and things that he has shared with me. So it's really special. Thank you.
Jennifer.
Hi. This is a poem from my neighborhood. Quinn tells us why. Moon! Her 3-year-old voice splashes delight over our backyards. While neighbors tend to the house on hold for the hospital, twilight gently plucks the soft white orb free of the treetops, and birds soundlessly lift themselves to high-nested crooks for rest. Dark night is an approaching certainty, and yet the new green buds of our hearts insist on opening.
Jessica?
barefoot child. Bare feet float on earth, heavy heat. Souls run light. Dirt cleans growing souls.
Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna, and you just read that in the amount of time it took me to walk up here. But I'm apparently your comedic relief, along with Kylie. Thanks for the Skittles. I turned 44 this year, so I wrote this haiku. Middle age must be when you finally grow up, but now you like it.
That was great, thanks. Charlotte.
My poem is about my parents. They went through a rough patch in their relationship and they split up. Now they're back together, as the last line says, but it has taken a toll on me. Broken home. They asked me to go to their room, asked me to go to my room, their anger pent up like dragons. The door shuts quietly as I listen against the door. I step back in silence. I'm sleeping until I hear a loud thud from the kitchen downstairs. I weep and sob, the air holding my tears, the house back together in one.
Mazzy, sleep.
All right. Is this, how loud do I need to be?
You're fine right where you're at.
Moving. The skyline leaps and lances, as languished as a rocket spent, continuing the rye blue backbone the horizon tempts to create. While in the trees of my dreams, the sun casts its stained gold spokes, illuminating the white ash ranks of masculine birds tucked between their leaves. Look at them, oh, square pecking memories, the dangling way they say good morning to the world as it sinks. Then look again, the pressed textured erosion, the quirked mouth made by the moon between two black buildings, and the blue twinkle it eggs on like a bruise. The only place I ever knew well is well over there. The only person, maybe not at all. Thank you.
Is Rich here? Rich asked me to read his poem, so I'm going to read it. Icy Heart. The ice is smooth like butter, slip and slide on the ice. We slid all around. The ice broke like the girl broke my heart. I was scared and hurt. Is Anjali here? I'll just read hers too. Light, shining bright, blinding, accelerating, illuminating, peeking through windows, covering the world, murky, deafening, dimmed, black, somber, darkness. I'll make this big, but thank you for coming, everyone. We'll turn on the lights if you want to do photos with the backdrop or anything, but we really, really appreciate you contributing to our community in this way. Poetry in Public 2026 just opened for submissions today. You can go to our website and just click on resources and you'll find the form to submit, or you can grab a handout in the back corner and it has a QR code that'll go directly to it. Your poems are on the buses. They are in the libraries of Johnson County, and then we'll continue to distribute them to other public viewing areas as well. So thank you very much.